Should the Lions be playing in Ireland this Friday against Argentina? Seems like quite a straightforward and silly question in some regards, but in this video I'm going to go through the reasons why it's a really good idea and also some of the reasons that you might point towards for actually why this is something that the Lions shouldn't do. And I suppose if I'm to extrapolate out the question, if I'm to broaden it, it's should the Lions be playing games on home soil? I'll explain what I mean, and I'm not entirely sure where I kind of stand in this whole debate, but I actually think it's quite an interesting talking point. So welcome back to the channel. That's what we're chatting about in this video. Comment down below, let me know if you think they should be, if they shouldn't be, your reasons why. Also subscribe, like the video, all that sort of stuff. But I've been thinking about this recently for loads of different reasons to do with the Argentina game, in terms of the players available, the schedule in the professional era, the kind of rampant commercialism of the modern Lions. And it's all kind of bubbling away in this one. So I suppose first of all, let me start with the reasons for why you might argue, and I'm still working out how I feel about this, that it's not a good idea for the Lions to play matches on home soil. Therefore, they shouldn't be playing this game against Argentina on Friday night. I guess it's the essence of the Lions, right? They're a touring side. The Lions should be a touring side. They shouldn't play matches on home soil. If they wanted to play Argentina in Argentina, awesome, go for it. If they wanted to play Japan in Japan, awesome. Was it 2017? I think they had the game in Hong Kong before they went on to New Zealand. Perfect. If you go back through the annals of history for the Lions, I know in the modern game we've got accustomed, haven't we, to seeing them play Test series against Australia, South Africa, New Zealand. They mainly play warm-up games in those countries. But you go back through the years and the decades, they've played in Suva in Fiji, which, by the way, they've only ever done that once, which I think is a massive miss. Like, how have they not played more games against Fiji in Fiji? That would be the perfect place to have a first game actually for this tour. Imagine them stopping off at Suva and then coming to Australia. I think that would work really well. But they've played in Sri Lanka. They've played all sorts of different places. The Lions should be a touring team. Might be an argument that you agree with or maybe disagree with. And I suppose actually it links to the point I've just made for why they shouldn't play this game, which is the commercialism of the Lions. And it's a reality of it. It's a professional game. We're playing in a professional era, but it is without question that the Lions is an absolute commercial beast now. And that's the reason for this game at the weekend, I think, mainly. I'll get on to some of the more noble reasons, maybe the plus points in just a second for why you put the game on in terms of fans being able to see them. But this is about making money, which makes it all the more frustrating, I suppose, that they haven't played more games against Fiji and Suva, for example. But I'd imagine from a commercial point of view, that's not as viable as having a game in Dublin or having a game at Murrayfield like we saw them do before the last Lions tour. They played in Cardiff previously, I think 2005 was it? I think Cardiff game they had. So that, for me, could be a reason that you don't have this game. And then the other thing is the professionalism that I've mentioned a few times already. Are they squeezing this game into an already incredibly congested fixture schedule? They possibly are not going to have a whole chunk of their players that played in URC or Premiership finals. They haven't had all of their players in the build-up for training so far. So it's kind of this disjointed, piecemeal, getting everyone together. Part of the Lions is about that. It's about adversity and being up against it and having to build a team in really tough circumstances. I get that. I just wonder whether forcing this game in at the start of the tour is more about the money rather than the reality of how it works for the players and how it actually works for the tour as a whole. So those, for me, are the arguments against having the game. What about the reasons for? Well, the obvious one is what I've hinted at already. It's an opportunity for the fans to see them. Watching the Lions in person is an incredibly expensive endeavour. As we know, it's retirees, it's your pension, it's your savings that get spent on an opportunity to go and watch the Lions. Because if you're doing the full tour, it's obscenely expensive. Well, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't working. I wouldn't be able to afford it. I'm incredibly fortunate that I've been able to get myself to Australia through my work, and I appreciate that so much. So if you're, like the majority of people, I suppose, that you can't pay to go on a Lions tour, what an opportunity if they're playing in Dublin or they're playing in Scotland or if they play a game in Cardiff or England or wherever it might be for you to be able to go and watch the Lions and really feel a part of it. I absolutely get that point of view. I really, really do. I suppose as well, if we actually think about this tour, and I'm intrigued to see how competitive a lot of the tour games are going to be, like how much of a challenge are the Lions going to get in those warm-up games. It's always an issue, certainly in Australia, even sometimes in South Africa. Like New Zealand is the one country where those tour games can be really, really tough because of the strength of the Super Rugby franchises. Like here, I guess you would imagine that the Brumbies is going to be tough. The Reds did pretty well, but Western Force, what are they going to look like? Some of the invitational teams, we're not sure. So if the warm-up games are not going to be as big of a challenge as the Lions might like, as they might hope, then actually playing Argentina could be an opportunity to have a more competitive fixture. We're not actually entirely sure what Argentina are going to look like either. That could be a potential issue, in which case it's all a bit null and void. But there's also the chance that you're playing against a fellow international side, and so therefore this is a great opportunity to actually test yourselves more against a more battle-hardened, a side with more all-round quality, I suppose. And then finally, it's test combinations. Test combinations, start working on your game plan, start implementing your game plan. You might as well start at some point, right? Why wait until the following weekend when you're in Australia? Let's get a game in beforehand and you can start building a team. Even though you're not going to have all of your pieces, it still gives you a chance to start trying things, to put in place what they did at their warm weather camp in Portugal a week ago. So those, as far as I can see it, are the reasons for and the reasons against the Lions playing games on home soil, the Lions playing Argentina in Dublin on Friday. I should say as well, actually, I've seen that ticket sales haven't been all that great. I think it will pretty much be a sellout, but there have been some tickets available this week. I don't know what that says at the moment. I know they're really expensive as well. I've seen a lot of people saying for the cost of the tickets, which I think is a thing at the Aviva. I think I'm right in saying. Those of you that live in Dublin and live in Ireland can correct me on that one. I think like tickets are really expensive, and it's certainly the case for this. And people might just say, do you know what? Friday night, I'm at work, I'll go to the pub or I'll go home and I'll watch the game that way. But if it's not a complete sellout, surely then again, you've got to question the reason for this game. I also don't want this video to seem like I'm not excited about it. I'm going to be watching it. I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait for the tour. I just think it's a point of discussion, and it's an interesting point of discussion of whether the Lions should play these games. Does it work in terms of the modern fixture schedule? Does it work in terms of professionalism and the demands on players? And also, is it ultimately just a bit of a money grab, I suppose, if we want to call it that? But certainly it's more about commercialism. It's more about trying to make money than it is actually about the fans, for example, being given an opportunity to see the game. And I suppose the cost of tickets would certainly point towards that. Those are my thoughts on it. Give me yours down below. All honesty, I'm really, really torn between the two. And I don't really fall down exactly on either side of the line, but those are the arguments as I see it. So let me know, give me your thoughts in the comment section, like the video as well, and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.